looking at Islam, thinking about it, I heard somebody say, oh man, you don't want to go to a Muslim country. You just take one loaf of bread, maybe, just some bread, and you didn't think, you grabbed it. Okay, you have to cut off your hand now. You got people stealing cars in Muslim countries, walking away from it. Nobody cut off anything. So the reality is that it is up to the government, just like it is in America or anywhere else. The government makes those rules. They use the Shariah as a basis, and you cannot go beyond it. Let me explain that. At the time of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, everything was man-made laws, and most of the laws were made up on the spot by the people who were there. You understand that? So maybe somebody stole a camel, and they say, who stole the camel? Oh, it was your own nephew. They didn't go, he's crazy. Okay? Next day, somebody stole the camel. Who stole the camel? Oh, it's another tribe over here. You don't like them. Kill him. No, I'm not joking. How many of you heard about the 40-year war over the camel? 40 years. These were not Muslims. These were Arabs killing each other for 40 years so much that they forgot why they were doing it. It was a camel race. You know camel race. Had a camel race. And after the race was over, the boy who lost, one of the boys he lost, he got angry at the camel that beat his camel. He took a rock and he killed the camel, the one that won the race. So those people killed that boy. And then his relatives killed them. And those relatives killed some more. And this went on and on and on for 40 years. Islam doesn't allow you killing people for stealing anything. Let me give you another example in Texas. I'm from Texas, and I know this law because we still were talking about it in the 1940s and 50s. If anybody steals your horse, they will hang him. 100 years ago, they were still hanging people in Texas. They were called vigilantes. Means they take the law into their own hands. They say, this guy, he did such and such or so, get him. No judge, no jury, he did it. He's going, no, I didn't do it. Yeah, you did. Put a rope on his neck, throw it over. And I was in one city, they have a water tower, where you keep the water up there. And they said, right there's where we saw one guy hanging, right there. This is man-made law. When Islam came, it made limits. For instance, how many wives could a man have? No limit. A man could have all the wives he wanted. Oh, how many girlfriends could he have? No limit. All the girlfriends you want. All at the same time. It doesn't matter. When Islam came, you could not have girlfriends anymore. It's not fair to the women. If you want this lady, you must marry her and give her her mahar. You have to give her rights. You have to put in writing everything. And this shocked the people. They said, whoa. If you want to be a Muslim, you cannot have a girlfriend. You cannot play around. You cannot be engaged in whatever. You want this lady, you marry her, you be upfront about it, and you go to her parents and let them know your intention, and then they accept it, and then she is offered, do you like to marry this man? She goes, no. Okay, that's it. You're rejected. They didn't have that then. These men came up just like animals almost. Grabs, you're going with me, I'm marrying you or taking you, whatever. And especially the orphan girls, because they would take an orphan girl, a little girl, and take her and say, she's my wife. Why? To get the money. When she was orphaned, she'd get whatever belonged to her father. Maybe 50 goats or something belonged to her father. He dies. Okay, I take the girl. She's my wife, and I get all her stuff. No limit. They could make their laws as they went. But when Islam came, it made it clear you cannot do that to orphan girls. And that's what it really says in the Quran. It says, don't do this with these orphan girls. Don't take them and claim you're marrying them, or you're taking them like your ward and you're trying to improve their money and all, but you're mixing it with your own and you're just trying to take it. That's chapter 4, verse 2. The next verse says, marry other women of your choice. That's why it starts like that. Marry other women of your choice. That's not a beginning of a sentence. That's the next part of a thought. You don't walk up to somebody and say, sit somewhere else. You're going, what? I'm not even sitting. What are you talking about? It's strange you say something like that. Marry other women. What are you talking about? You missed the first part. Marry other women of your choice. Ithna, thalatha, arba. 2, 3, 4. Then it says, but only if you can treat them fairly. Whoa. What do you mean? I have a limit? They never had a limit. Read the Bible. How many wives did Suleiman had? Alayhi salam. There was no limit. A limit? And you have to treat them fair. Whoa. What's that? And then it said real clear, otherwise only marry one. And Muslims throughout history have been the most monogamous of all of the people because they only have one, and they only have one. You know what I mean by that? Yeah, they get married and they don't have girlfriends, mistresses, or anything else. Now if you said, well, that's because of the punishment. What's the punishment? If somebody has a wife and he goes out with some girls and does whatever, what's the punishment? Stop. Remember what I told you before? You and me can't do that. We can't apply the punishment. It has to go to the judge. What's the first thing the judge is going to say? Sir, did you do that? And he's going to say no. So now you need witnesses. Because if he wants to say, yes, I did it, punish me, that's his choice. But if he says no, now you need proof. What's the proof in Islam? Huh? Did you say 4? Did you say 4 eyewitnesses that have to see exactly, and this is what Prophet ﷺ did, like this. You don't see 2 people under the blanket jumping up and down. You actually see what they call penetration. You didn't see that? You didn't see it. And you have to know both of the people so you can identify them. You say, I don't know the lady because she had her face covered up. Okay, well, guess what? That's not evidence. 4 eyewitnesses? So immediately you start thinking, well, wait a minute. That'd have to be more something like on the internet or something, you know, like pornography. What kind of people are out here doing an exhibition, huh? So it makes you think, whoa, wait a minute. How many people at the time of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually were killed over this subject? And if you know the truth about it, there was one lady who insisted that she be punished. And Rasul ﷺ turned away from her and said, maybe you're imagining things. And she said no, and she came up to him again, and he turned away again. He said, maybe you don't know what that means. She said, no, this is what exactly happened, like this, like this. He said, still, maybe, you know, you'll have something come from this, meaning maybe she will be pregnant. And sure enough, she was pregnant. She come back again. And he said, okay, now you have to deliver the baby. She came back again. He said, now you have to wean the baby for 2 years. She came back again. She won the punishment. Why? Because she wanted to go to paradise without any hisab. This was a lady who psychologically could not live with herself anymore for having cheated on her husband. She didn't want to live anymore. And she didn't want to commit suicide. That's haram in Islam. And that's the only one? How many tonight in America men will cheat on their wives? Maybe some of them are even judges. So this is very hypocritical. This is very hypocritical to say, throw out Shariah, and you don't even know what it is. You don't even know what the advantage is. Because for every woman who is out there, this is a protection for her. She knows that when her husband come home from a long night, she don't have to say, where you been? How come you got lipstick on your collar? All this kind of stuff. Because this ain't going to happen. This is a very dangerous thing to do. He knows that. I'll get in trouble. And I don't want my reputation messed up, that's for sure. And besides, I don't want Allah to be angry with me. A real Muslim, he doesn't really think about the people, he thinks about Allah. What happens, let me explain it another way. When I went to school as a boy, every teacher had a paddle about this long, a wooden paddle. And if you were bad, they would use the paddle and bend you over the desk, and you would get for whatever you did. Almost none of the kids ever got it. But when it did happen, everybody saw it. And then they were like, okay, I'm going to be good, And my mother was a school teacher, and she said it was called the Board of Education. It was made out of a board. And I later figured out what she meant by that. She told us when they stopped allowing it, the school couldn't have it anymore, about 1970s, somewhere in there. They made a law, you can't do that anymore. Teacher cannot hit the student at all. She said, when this happened, we don't have any control on the students. She said there will come a day when the teachers will be afraid of the students. And the people were laughing at her like, you're a crazy old lady, When I left the United States to come on this trip, one of the governors of the United States said he wants to call for a law that the principal of the school should carry a gun and know how to use it. You know why? Because we just had another one of those mass killings in New England when a child goes in there with guns, bang, 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 shoots a bunch of people. It's becoming something that's happened a couple times a year. It's crazy that they're catching these kids with these guns, and what are they going to do? Elementary school? Come on, man, what are we talking about? Well, they're playing these video games where you're shooting people in a video game. Bang, bang, boom, boom, bang, bang. How many of you played a video game? Be honest. The kind I'm talking about where you shoot people. Did you ever think that maybe it's haram? You didn't think about it? Innama amalu bin niyat. Is that a hadith? Innama amalu bin niyat. All of your actions are by your niyyah, right? So when you're doing that, you have the intention to shoot that person in front of you. Oh, it's just a game, though. You're just practicing, right? But how long before people see those reality ones that look like real people? And it becomes easy for little children to do this enough that, okay, a real person, bam, they'll come back to life in the next game. No, they won't. It's not a game. You just killed somebody. Oh, you think that can't happen? Again, for my own personal life, when my stepbrother was 12 years old, he was 12 years old, and they wanted him to take care of his niece and nephew. They were little kids, 4 years old and 2 years old, something like that. And while he was there in their house, there was a TV, and it had a Western, where the cowboys shoot, shoot, bang, bang. And they were watching it in the bedroom. He was sitting on the bed. He lifted up the pillow because